Where's the live? The live
There we
button
are.
is here. Hello, everyone
Hello.
on
Hi.
the stream. Joining us early. I'm joined by Twan and Stu today. How are both of you this fine Sunday evening / morning for you, actually, or afternoon? What time are you?
Afternoon.
Afternoon.
Close enough.
yeah, roughly there. How
Yeah.
are you?
Doing well, thank you. How are both of you?
I'm doing
Amazing.
very well.
Doing very well. Stu, this is the first time you've actually been on one of these summer streams, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I
Yeah.
haven't.
How have you been since Eurovision?
I've been well. I've been working on a video that seems to have been taking me an eternity because I'm still not done it, but it's coming. Yeah, I've just been enjoying summer. I've been listening to a lot of songs from actually the last 3 years because what I did before leaving for Liverpool is I loaded my phone with all of the Eurovision and national selection songs since I had been following it as press. And through doing that, you realize that there are a lot of songs. Like obviously, in the moment, you like them, and that's why you get them. But you realize that, like, man, there are a lot of songs that really kind of missed out, and it's a bit too bad. But yeah, it's just been a nice experience to relive, kind of re-experience certain songs that I had an affinity for.
Yeah, I thought you were about to say there is a lot of songs full stop. I was like, yeah, obviously, you're doing every song from the last 3 years.
Yeah, that would be a lot. Yeah.
Like just to Moldova alone, with what they're 40 plus entries every year.
Yeah,
Antoine, how
yeah.
have you been? Oh, sorry, no, go on.
Well, I was just to say, to be clear, it's not every song. It's just the ones that I like added to
I
my
was gonna
library
say.
because I enjoyed them. Yeah, I'm not listening to every national selection song for the last 3 years.
I know you had a long flight to Liverpool, but I don't think you need that many songs on your
Yeah.
playlist. Antoine, how have you been in the last since we last saw you?
Well, you saw me last Wednesday, I think it was. We've obviously had some Eurovision news, which we're going to talk about. But I've been really well. I've been working, so keeping myself busy.
Yeah, let's see who's in the comments section. An early crowd and early on. Nice to see. Hello, all evening, all Lee Fern. Lovely to see you, Lee. Cosmic Summers. Hey. Jessie Culpa with her hello. Sarah O'Halloran. I'm so happy Eurovision is in Malmo again. Yes, we'll get on to that. Sam Ravan Bakash says it's too bad Stockholm are not hosting. And yeah, just a lot of stuff now about. Actually, no, one more here. Hello from Frank as well.
Hello.
And then a lot of the other comments are about a particular thing that's happened since the last stream. Fairly big news that Sweden have announced where we are going to in 2024 in still, bear in mind, 10 months' time. This is still before we head back there. So long time. But we are heading back for the first time in 10 years to Malmo. There are reports apparently now that that was the only city that was eligible to realistically compete through various reasons for Stockholm, Gothenburg, and the other one, which I can't pronounce the name, is like Orsken. Stuart, you might
speak or something like that.
Yeah, that they couldn't host it either. So we're heading back to Malmo. Stuart, what are your thoughts about Malmo hosting Eurovision again?
Well, as you said, it seems as if this was the only viable option. And to look at that a bit further with Stockholm, because obviously the city that usually comes to mind whenever Eurovision is going to the next place is the capital, right? And there was lots of people saying that they wanted it to be in Stockholm. LOREEN herself said in the press conference after she won, she said it better be in Stockholm, man. But there are a lot of issues because I mean they have a lot of arenas available to them, but the football teams that practice out of there and have games there didn't want to move. Taylor Swift ended up booking 2 concerts back to back at the Friends Arena. 3 now, is it?
Yeah, she's added another one. Yeah.
Damn. Well, I mean, I guess when you're an artist of that status, you are able to do that kind of thing. But basically, there just seemed to be a number of reasons working against Stockholm. At one point, it was reported that they were proposing a temporary venue to be constructed in a part of, I think it's close to like the harbor where it was supposed to be, which already sounds like a bit of a stretch because I don't know, maybe you guys would know, but have we ever had Eurovision of this size in a temporary venue?
I mean, 2014 was kind of a temporary venue. It was like a shipwreck thingy.
Yeah,
not
yeah.
really.
I mean, does Azerbaijan count? or not really?
Well, no, because they built it, and
Oh, okay.
it's still there as far as I know. The circumstances of building it were a bit troublesome, but in any case, yeah, I mean, so that kind of ruled out Stockholm, and then with Gothenburg, and I want to say it's Ornstvisk. Maybe someone can help us out there, but
Yeah.
yeah, they just didn't seem very likely because in Gothenburg, the Scandinavian needed to be renovated in order to be properly adequate to house Eurovision. So it just seemed like there were people even before Sweden had won who were very confident that it was going to be them winning. We're saying, oh yeah, it's going to be Malmo next year. So I can't say I'm too surprised personally, but yeah, I mean, I have to say that I'm happy that this wasn't an overly drawn out process where we're finding out months and months from now. I'm glad that like they just cut to the chase and said, okay, this is where we're going.
Don't know what you're talking about. We got lots of views and coverage from just the hosting for last year alone. We had what we do like 3 streams, I think, for hosting duties last year. We haven't done any this year. I think for the sake of my live reactions to hosting, good after what happened last year when Liverpool was announced. If anyone knows, Twan. Now, actually, Twan, this is the. I want to say 4th consecutive year where the non-capital city has hosted Eurovision. The last time was back in 2018 in Lisbon. What are your thoughts on us going to a smaller, not mainstream city again like Malmo?
I'm hoping to personally go to Malmo. I'm not sure if I'll be able to yet, but I would personally love to go to Malmo. It seems like a really lovely city, and I think they've proved that they can put up a really good show in 2013. So I'm not worried about that at all. I think it's going to be a magnificent show. And I think it's also really good for Copenhagen because obviously Copenhagen is really, really close to Malmo. It's just like, I think it's a 45-minute train ride over the bridge, then you're in Malmo. So obviously a lot of Eurovision fans will be staying in Copenhagen as well. So I think it's a really, really good choice. And as Stuart said, probably the only viable actual choice for Eurovision, given that I think the Globe Arena was being renovated in Stockholm, and the football teams as well as everything else, and Gothenburg's arena not being suitable for Eurovision. So I think they definitely made the right choice with Malmo.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, if it was the only choice, it's the only choice. You know, their hand might have been tied in a sense to what the facilities and parameters of hosting a Eurovision entail. I think for me personally, because I haven't been to Sweden before, I would have probably preferred Stockholm. Just, you know, bigger the better, the main area for me. But I'm still very happy to be going to Malmo. Got flights and hotels all sorted. Made sure to do that in advance. One thing I did, a couple things I noticed about Malmo is there wasn't much the accommodation and like main area of the city isn't necessarily ridiculously close to the actual arena and where at least the Eurovision village was last time in 2013. So that'll be interesting for travel purposes. But other than that, it seems like a very nice place to go. I will say my one sort of cry for want for Malmo next year is I want a bigger staging from Malmo because personally, the Malmo staging from 2013 is one of my least favorite stagings in recent memory because of just how small it looked compared to 2012, 2014, and everything else. I just prefer bigger staging because Eurovision is a big event. You know, don't contain us to like this smaller national final staging.
Well, when it comes to that, I probably think they're going to evaluate whether they're going to want a bigger stage or sell more tickets. And personally, I think they are going to lean to sell more tickets. So I do think that the stage is going to be significantly smaller, especially compared to 2016, which was huge in Sweden. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Well, and with 2013, I think that the small feeling, from my point of view, had more to do with the stage design rather than the actual location and the way that they utilized the venue. It was more so the kind of like fairy tale elements that they included. Like to me, it was all a little bit too specific to make every act kind of have that like that versatility that was needed. And it worked really well for some of them, like for Emily de Forest. It worked really well for Zlata from Ukraine as well, because her song had that kind of like epic Disney feel to it. But yeah, like it didn't, the more like modern sounding songs didn't necessarily feel complemented that much. And I think that was a design issue rather than a construction issue.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go to the comments because there is a lot of thoughts on the hosting here. Alexander Pagels, hello. Can we talk about the hosting? As a Dane, Malmo is the best possible thing. I have no excuse not to go to some sort of event there. Yeah, a lot of Danes in Copenhagen. Pretty much a home Eurovision for you. I believe it's like a 30-minute train journey to Malmo from Copenhagen. That's how I'm getting there anyway. I'm going a flight to Copenhagen. Bukur Christian Civil is sad that Sweden only has 2 options when hosting Stockholm and Malmo, nothing else. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, countries that aren't necessarily blessed with major cities in some areas, some countries in Europe are going to be limited on what cities can host it. So that, yeah, that's a shame. We're not going to have like an Italy or a UK where there's many options every year, sadly. Lee Fern saying accommodation sorted for next year, staying with a friend who lives in Malmo, just flights and ticket now. That I bet you were thrilled by that.
Can we stay too?
Befriend some people in Malmo in the next 10 months. You've got your time starts now. Sarah Halloween saying what I need to take me to Malmo is just some friends I trust. Yep, and some in and Malmo clearly. Bakur also saying thank you Taylor Swift. Yes, I think.
Well, I think the thing with Taylor Swift is that her concerts are just 3 days. So it's probably just a maximum of 5 days that the football team will not be able to play in that arena, compared to Eurovision where it's blocked up for a full month. So my guess would be
is because someone with a bit of football knowledge, the fixtures for at least the English divisions are all out for next season. I'd imagine it's a similar situation for countries around the world and leagues around the world. I'd imagine the football team that plays in that area has an away game that weekend, so they are able to facilitate Taylor Swift's concert, because I doubt Taylor Swift has the power to move an entire Swedish football league. Maybe she does. I don't know.
It's Taylor Swift.
It's Taylor. All I know is, right, if she was performing at the London Stadium where West Ham played the weekend where there was a home game, West Ham fans would not be best pleased to have to move the game. And I imagine Sweden fans are also passionate. No, hang on. Hello from Rai Bailey as well. Lovely to see you. Shalom from Yuri Vlasovic. Got so many comments here. Alexander saying about 2014 was definitely the definition of a temporary arena. Wasn't the one in Baku destroyed as well? Oh, okay.
I think it's still there.
I think that the arena is still there. They destroyed the apartments and homes that were on that property in order to build it. That's where the controversy
right.
is.
Well, at least if they win again, they don't have to do that. That's every cloud. Peter M saying 5 years in a row now where Eurovision won't be hosted in the capital cities. It looks like the EBU are favouring to host it in smaller cities. Interesting. Do you think there's a bias there, or is it just coincidence?
I don't think it's bias, to be honest.
I think it actually relates to some of the things that we're talking about with Stockholm, with how there's so much demand in Stockholm for other events and other regular things, sporting events that are going on. I think that kind of thing tends to be more centralized around the major cities. So it could just be a matter of that being a factor. But like when we consider the previous 2 years with like, you know, I think London was ruled out pretty soon just because...
I think they didn't apply.
Oh, well, there you go. And then Rome, I know that Rome applied, but I don't think they made it to like the second stage where they had shortlisted the cities. And then like Amsterdam was considered, but I remember that was also ruled out.
No, they weren't. No, they did not. No, they didn't apply.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Well, there you go. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's a mixture of things. But it might just be that it's more convenient to place it in a city where there isn't quite as much demand for major events like Taylor Swift showing up, you know?
Is there an argument though, on the other hand, where, and I saw this come up in a tweet or a thread, one of them, because that's the new thread's the new thing, that said they're happy Malmo's hosting, but is there an argument that a bigger city hosting like a capital city would accommodate more Eurovision fans to go and have more available hotels? That's a potential argument I saw.
It probably would, but Malmo does have Copenhagen on a quite reachable distance from it. So I don't think that's a problem this year, to be honest.
And when they make these decisions, it's like you have to consider all the factors, right? So because let's take like Tel Aviv for example, where the arena was small, and I don't think that it actually met the 10,000 10,000 people
I think they
capacity.
were
They had to
just like
compensate for that.
4,000, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
so it's like as much as there are certain things that the cities must have, they can certainly make some leeway on some other things. So it just really comes down to, of the available options, which one is the most optimal, I think. At least that's how I would
Yeah.
look at it from an organization kind of thing.
Yeah, that's fair enough and true. Let's go to some of the comments saying hi. Joanne Johnson, hello everyone. Nice to see you. Stu, you got a fan then, Joanne Johnson. Clav saying
Aw.
hello. ESE Manga saying hello. And a couple comments on the host city League fan saying it's great that capital cities are not being chosen. Instead, other towns and cities are getting worldwide exposure.
Totally.
Vikram Leon saying, I'm glad we're going back to Malmo because it's where my country, the Netherlands, knows the highlights here. That is true. The Netherlands got their big break back in Malmo in 2013.
Yes, that's true.
I suppose Malmo is one of those where, because it was only 10 years ago, we can go back and see like some special token memories. For example, I'm pretty sure I've got this right. The UK in the last 10 years, that's their 4th best result in the last 10 years with 19th. Yes.
I do actually really like that song. I really like
I
it.
remember we were the only ones that figured out there was a lifting platform. we were the only ones.
Wasn't Germany lifted up as well? If I'm not.
No, I don't think.
No?
No, I don't think so.
They had a platform of sorts, but there was also Moldova and Romania, who both had big, long flowing
Yeah,
dresses,
true.
and they were. If it wasn't the same platform, then it was another platform that they had supplied.
And it is also a fun fact: the last time a non-Big Five member came last, or a non-automatic qualifier came last. I'm not going to say
true.
who because I get stick by this country for constantly.
Because it just seems like we keep coming up with reasons to point out.
Okay, hear me out. Because the country we're talking about is Ireland, all right? Hear me out.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. Look, okay. Look, there are a lot of niche facts with Ireland that aren't necessarily positive. However, they literally statistically, in between, since Malmo last hosted, they statistically have the worst qualifying record. It is not my fault that Ireland have a lot of negative bad results. It's not like I'm lambasting a country that does average. Like, this country literally has a lot of material.
I mean, to be fair, they did really try in 2014 and 2015.
Yes,
I really
that is
like
true.
those entries. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, it's like San Marino's got a lot of. It's like I can't lambast Sweden much because they do well. It's.
Well, people try. Nowadays, it's all about Sweden's overrated. It's always the same generic pop song, blah 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 blah. Like nothing's holding you back. It's just Ireland, for whatever reason, is your punching bag.
It's not my fault they don't do that well at the moment. Okay.
We're gonna keep our fingers crossed for things to change for Ireland. We know that there are a lot of issues with how the broadcaster is, including right now. Their broadcasters under a lot of scrutiny for financial issues and mishandling of funds. But in any case, we obviously would want to see that change.
Yeah, and to be fair, a lot of my Eurovision friends are Irish, so for their sake, I would love to. I'd not only love them to qualify, I'd love to be in the same room as them when they qualify, because I think it'd be such an amazing. No, because I think it'd be such an amazing reaction to see them. Oh my gosh, we made it! You know, I do hope they do well, because like they've got so many good artists, and they just need to actually find the correct way of doing it. Guys, I'm going to say now, there's a lot of comments, so I've scrolled down to the bottom. If I miss your comment, please put it in again, because I might come back to it, but we've got so many, and I want to move on to more what we're talking about. Right Belly saying, don't worry, the UK will win next year as I'm singing. Okay, spoiler, thank you for that, right? P is saying, it's, no, okay, this one isn't me. I did not read this properly. For God's sake.
All right, well, let's move on to the next one so we don't look like based in this.
I will purposely avoid Irish comments unless they're positive.
Well, you can also look at the way that last time Malmo hosted, Ireland qualified. So this time Malmo hosts
every cloud.
Ireland's going to qualify.
Yeah, exactly. Every cloud has a silver lining. And Ireland did qualify that edition, that time. Mark saying, I don't know if you are covering this on stream, but I'm really happy to see Luxembourg is doing a national final. Can't wait to see what. Yeah, you know what? Let's change pace because it was announced also this week. I don't know whether this was covered in the Wednesday one as well.
Yeah, we did. We went over it. Well, we can do it again.
Well, in that case, just a quick comment from everyone around. What are you looking forward to with Luxembourg's national final, which I believe will be one of the first ones in January as well?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of curiosity about how Luxembourg is going to be doing Eurovision after being absent for 30 years. Like, it's a huge question mark. It is really cool to see that they've gone right to a national final rather than, like, to use the example of Australia, when they debuted, their approach was like, okay, we need to kind of build momentum before we actually jump into doing a national selection. And I suppose you could have made that argument for Luxembourg, even though Luxembourg, of course, has a history at Eurovision already and has 5 wins already beneath their belt. But yeah, no, I think that's really, really great that they're doing that. And I'm very curious to see how they're going to approach it, especially the fact that they're emphasizing not necessarily Luxembourgish citizenship, but the participants need to have a clear connection to the country, which was not always the case with their previous artists. They often had to borrow from France, Belgium, and Canada even. So yeah, I'm quite looking forward to it, I have to say.
Yeah, I would say that I'm intrigued more than anything because at the end of the day, Luxembourg is just a massive question mark. How will they translate to modern Eurovision? Because as you said, they're like, I think they could have gone straight to a national final because of their reputation in the country. Like, at the end of the day, they've got 5 wins, so it is a big deal in Luxembourg. Although I will say, countries with high wins back before the 2000s doesn't necessarily mean success. We have the UK and others, but I'm not gonna say. No, that's not my fault. But I'm genuinely intrigued to know how they approach it because it could go one of 2 ways. They could either actually go like proper pop and really adjust to the times, or they could go slightly outdated and take a year or 2 to adjust to modern Eurovision. We don't know. At the end of the day, it's not like it's something that Luxembourg are a rookie at, or they've got to get used to again. They watch Eurovision. They know what could do well. But yeah, I am intrigued also how many people will be in their national final. Have they said how many they're going to have?
No, they have not. But
No,
that's also a thing that I'm not necessarily concerned about, but really curious about, because obviously the factors that you have to have a connection with Luxembourg really limits the artists that you have, and they already have limited artists. So I'm curious to see the quality of the national final, but also the amount of people that are competing in the national final.
Yeah, what I will say with Luxembourg is it's one of those where I do have a little bit of faith in the quality, just because it's a Western European country, and usually the Western European countries, when it comes to national final, tend to have a good record because they send more mainstream style, like Norway, Sweden, Belgium's I thought was quite good this year. Who are some others? France had solid national finals. Like, that side of the world usually does.
Let's not talk about the Dutch national finals, please.
I purposely skipped Dutch national final and Germany. But Stuart, did you want to add more comments on Luxembourg?
Well, again, it's just a real big question about how it's going to be, and as you're talking about the fact that it could go many different ways, I think it's really because it's a different show than what it was even like 20 years ago. Eurovision was a very different show, so we haven't really seen what the Luxembourgish I don't know, like ethos, mentality is towards an event like this now that it is developed in so many different ways. So yeah, to me, it's just a big question mark.
Yeah, but a question mark we're all looking forward to. Booker saying here, Eurosong Luxembourg. Yes, let's have 3 national finals called Eurosong, and all in January, with Ireland and Belgium joining them as well.
What I do really like about Luxembourg is that they're having 3 categories that you can apply to, just as a songwriter, as a singer, or a singer with a song. And I do think that gives more opportunities for songwriters as well as singers who don't have a song. I do really like that fact about it, though.
to me, that suggests that they are really looking at it from, I don't want to say like a songwriting camp point of view, but basically they're approaching it with the kind of approach that you get at Melfest, where if you submit a song, you're not necessarily guaranteed to be the one that sings it, but they are trying to get a bunch of different sides of the discussion and get to make it like a collaborative effort, which I think can be a really good solution depending on if the stars align in the right way. It can also make things feel a little bit more produced, and perhaps that for Eurovision fans who really want to see entries that feel very authentic or feel very deeply rooted in a country's culture, they might not be getting that if that's the approach that they're going to be getting. But we never know, because somebody might have a different idea of the right way to put those things together.
Yeah, I would say that. Mark saying, I hope Luxembourg don't do a Malta or San Marino with their national final, because yikes, yo. Now, Luxembourg have already confirmed you have to have a Luxembourg link, so it's not going to be San Marino.
I think it will be fine.
I think Malta are their own vessel in Eurovision. They've got their own unique style. They'll do their thing. Their national final is probably starting next week with like 160 songs. They do their Malta. All I'm going to say with Malta is the only 2 times they've qualified and recently is when they went internal with the song. But that's neither here nor there. Peter also saying, oh, hang on, no. That's not linked. Vic Ram is saying, I hope that Belgium and Netherlands both qualify for the grand final once again, because imagine 10 finals in 20 years for the Dutch-speaking countries according to qualification rates. That is a good stat there. I enjoy. Belgium seems to be on the up as well, and even despite the blip this year with Netherlands, they are a pretty consistently good country. So I wouldn't have too many worries with them. What are some other guys? Also, if you have some questions, just that aren't necessarily linked to current news with Eurovision, just about general Eurovision in general, we'd love to answer those. This could be a good time to get some more general Eurovision thoughts out of us, if you want. Let's go to this comment, because I believe in the comments they've been discussing what countries they'd like to see potentially back at Eurovision. So there's a few in this one from Linear 93C. Hello to you. They miss Slovakia, Bosnia Herzegovina, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Monaco, Hungary, and Turkey. You miss quite a few. I mean, I don't think that all of them can come back at once, but well, maybe they can. But I'd say out of those, go on.
There are some rumors that North Macedonia is back next year. It hasn't officially been confirmed, but some sources on Twitter are saying it. So I guess we'll just have to wait for confirmation. But I do think they are likely to come back. I'm not so sure about Montenegro, how likely they are to come back. But if there are countries that are likely to come back, it's Montenegro and North Macedonia. I'm sure the other ones are quite likely to not come back, sadly.
Yeah, with North Macedonia, as I understand, last year's absence was supposed to be like temporary anyway, or this year rather. For them, the interest is to still continue. I think that a lot of it had to do with the financial situation. So, and also the fact that they're continuing to participate in Junior Eurovision. I don't know if that's the case for this year, but
their artist is already announced as well.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely good to see that they're still in this, because the Balkans are an area where we're starting to see more holes now, and hopefully the ones that stay in it and continue being successful will encourage the other ones to come back, and hopefully finances will sort themselves out and allow for that to happen as well.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, North Macedonia's, I'm pretty sure they're one of the unluckiest Eurovision countries in recent memory. They missed out in both 2008, 2009 with the stupid wildcard save from the juries. Their 2008 song was definitely deserving of a final spot. And then even going back to their last participation in 2022, they came 11th, but there was that whole debacle with 6 countries having their points changed. At the end of the day, it wasn't like a ridiculously close margin between them and 10th, but who knows what the results would have been had those juries had managed to keep their points and voted fairly. We wouldn't know. And then just a lot of close results in between. So I hope to see North Macedonia back, because they always bring something a bit different, for good or bad. And I think Montenegro is very much similar, maybe not as certain as North Macedonia, but when a country is withdrawing for financial reasons, I have a bit more faith in them than one that's
Or
just
to buy cars.
or to buy
to buy
cars.
cars.
Yeah, but like at the end of the day, Montenegro had an artist for last year,
Yeah.
and they just didn't have the finances. So they I think still have a desire to not only compete but even try and do well again. And to be fair, with this new televote only system in the semi-finals, whether that sticks or not, if it does, I think that's an area that could benefit Balkan countries like North Macedonia and Montenegro, especially if they get put in similar semi-finals, because they just have that head start over other countries. It's not a foregone conclusion they'll qualify, but it will maybe be a helpful indicator, especially for North Macedonia, who qualified a lot in the 2000s with that system as well. Let's go to a different comment here. Carol saying they kind of should do it like Portugal. They should go directly to songwriters to participate and send their songs, more like a music festival exposure than a pre-selection way.
The thing I have about that is that sometimes the artists don't make the right connection to the song, and then the song feels disconnected from the artists. I personally really like when artists are involved in the process of creating their songs, in whichever way that is. I can see why people like it, and I do really like Festival de Canção, but I do think it's better that artists are involved.
Well, in this case, with how they do Festival de Canção, is that they're selecting the artists rather than the songs. They do most of the artists that are pre-selected, and then they have an open call, which, like, for example, Mimikat was an open call winner this year, which hasn't, I don't know how many times it has happened or if it has happened at all, but in any case, like, usually it's one of the artists that are designated, and then they provide a song. So what happens sometimes is that the artist is or like the composer makes the song but then chooses another artist to perform it, like was the case with Claudia Pascual and Isaura, and with Elisa and what was her name, Marina. Well, in any case, the 2020 artists, yeah, that's what they do sometimes, but generally speaking, the tendency is for the composers to actually perform their own song as well, unless they're like more of a DJ producer and they invite someone else. But yeah, like I have to say that I think that really works because it gives people a bit of artistic freedom that you don't see in selections like Melody Festivalen and I would even say Melody Grand Prix as well, where they tend to have that more like executive producer kind of approach to things rather than just kind of letting the artists fill out the space in their own way. But yeah, I actually would like that too. I guess it's just because, you know, one system doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work in the same way in another country. It's still like a wait and see kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. Going on to more comments here, Peter, with a couple I like. Carrier announced a European tour. Can't wait to see him in Dublin. Yeah, I mean, he's coming to London, but the problem I have is I'm going to Herdgrot Song Festival like a week before, where he's also been announced. So I probably won't do back to back, but I'm still very excited to see him there. Peter also saying an interesting point. I would love to see juries come back to the semi-finals next year. I didn't disagree with the qualifiers this year, but smaller nations need the juries. I think this is a topic we've covered a few times on here with varying thoughts. So I'm going to pose a different question in a way. So we saw with statistics before this year that on average 1 or 2 countries per semi-final would swap when it comes to if it was a televote only system, hypothetically in the past. Do you think any of the results, and be specific which ones, would have changed had juries been in place this year, do you reckon?
I do think so, but I need to look at the countries in order to.
I will give you a quick moment if you want to look at the rankings.
So the one that I'm quite confident about, and I wouldn't necessarily say that I would rather have it this way or another way, but I think that Albania would have not qualified this year.
Interesting.
Because their televote score in the semifinal, I think that left them in 9th or 8th. And something I feel like it would have been, I feel like it would have been one of those songs where the juries just don't support it enough. Like the juries don't connect with it. And like, you know, I think it's great that Albania was there and got to have their moment, especially the fact that they were in the top 10 with the televote in the grand final as well. but yeah, I think that would have been probably the most obvious switch. And then as far as who else would have made it in place of Albania, probably Iceland or Georgia.
Yeah,
I can
go
agree
on.
with that. Yeah, I can see Georgia qualify over Albania, and in semi-final one, I can see Serbia not qualifying because they did finish 10th with a couple of points difference from Latvia, and I think
Yeah. Oh
Latvia
yeah.
would have been a really big jury pleaser.
Yes, I
So I
agree.
think that Latvia would have made it through instead of Serbia.
Yeah, I agree.
in
Latvia
semi-one.
would have definitely got 3 more jury points than Serbia at least. I think it was it 3 or 5 they needed.
Latvia at 34 and Serbia at 37.
Yeah, so they needed 4 more because obviously Televo breaks tie. I would say that in semi-final 2, I'm less confident whether they would have changed because if I remember correctly, there was a 30-point gap between 10th and 11th, so it was
Yeah.
quite significant. And 10th was Estonia, which, as we know, would have done well with jury, so we can rule them out of being in the drop. So Albania might have just slipped out, but I'm not sure Iceland would have got enough jury support. Maybe Georgia, but again, it's not. I don't think it would have been enough to close the gap between Albania, who's I think who we're looking at here, and either Iceland or Georgia. So I'm more confident Latvia definitely would have qualified in semi-final 1, less so with semi-final 2. But I am also in agreement with Peter. I would prefer juries back because I think it's just
Agree.
it's an easier playing field for countries of all sizes, basically. Go on.
And I mean, should we really be that surprised that Malta, who already struggles with the televote and performed in the second
Exactly.
spot, came last? Because like Malta has come last with the televote a lot in the semifinals, and it's unfortunate. Obviously, there are certain things to be said about the song and the performance, whether or not it was enough of the heavyweight to really get them that much further if they had performed in any other spot. But I mean, all of the ingredients were there for failure, regardless. So, as a matter of principle, I wish that the juries were back in the semifinals. Obviously, like I don't think it's if that were to be reintroduced, probably not after this year because of how the grand final went and the jury's involvement and all that. But yeah, just it would make the thinking of Eurovision where you have to have popular appeal, but then also technique and originality and all that. It would keep it an even playing field from the first point to the last point.
Yeah, what I would say with Malta is whether it would have qualified or not, I would say that if you switch it to like a country of the size of Latvia, for example, whether it I think it gets more than 3 points with a Latvia, just from more diaspora. Because at the end of the day, while there were other factors, San Marino also came last with 0 points. Like one of those factors, aside from stage and song, because there was those factors with San Marino as well. It wasn't exactly like the odds-on favourite to win or anything, but they are a small country that also struggles with televote. How can we forget Senate, who was the clear like favorite amongst the fandom when it comes to like ranking San Marino entries, or at least most fans, only came 9th in the televote, or like came 9th overall with not amazing televote. So if that's the bar of like how good to qualify, then San Marino, I think they struggle with the jury. So without it, it can, and that's also one of my issues with Luxembourg. Like I know they're not a ridiculously small country, but they're not massive. So it'll be interesting to see how they cope in a televote only system. I'm sure they would be aware of the potential risks.
I mean, the counterfact is that Estonia, which is obviously also a small country, not as small obviously as Malta or Luxembourg, but they're fairly small and they do well.
What I would say with Estonia is there's a little bit more diaspora with them,
yeah,
like
that's
Lithuania,
also true.
Latvia, and a few of the Nordics as well. So they've got support from elsewhere. Maybe it's not necessarily how big the country is; it's how much diaspora help you can get at certain points. Like for example, majority of Victor Vernikos's points came from Cyprus this year. So some countries will have the help depending on what semi-final they're in.
Yeah, that's also true.
And yeah, that's just how I think with juries that becomes less of a factor. Whereas now with a televote only system, we're looking more closely at who's in what semi-final and who usually gives who points because it matters less with juries at the end of the day.
To be fair, when it comes to Malta, they have done well in the past with televote.
Yes.
Like they came second in the televote only contest in 2005. So it's been proven that they can do well, but I'm not sure why they're not doing well now. It's a bit weird for me.
Well, even with Destiny in her semifinal, she did well with the televote. It wasn't the first because obviously there was Ukraine, but it was still very respectable. Now it must be said that not every Maltese artist that we've seen has the performance capacity of someone like Destiny. So I can't say. Well, I wouldn't say that any of the other songs would have had the same level of impact, but it certainly can be done. It's not a done deal for Malta, but if they're in the second half and if they're with a performer that is a real showstopper, then yeah, absolutely, they can qualify.
Yeah, I think my issue with them is, as much as we would encourage obviously them to send something of this scale, Malta and countries like Malta and San Marino have to send something ridiculously good to stand a chance, which I think is a bit unfair in a sense. Like you have to reach a higher bar than other countries, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I mean, you should be reaching as high as possible, right?
You should be,
Exactly.
you should be, but I don't think other countries are safer when they send more mediocre songs, if that makes sense.
Of course.
Which I don't think is
I agree.
as fair.
If anything, if you have a diaspora, then that will save you when your song is like, in the middle. If it's like, mediocre, as you say, like that, having a diaspora or having neighbors that have close cultural ties will be your buffer so that you won't come last, let's say, because like I don't think like Serbia has ever come last.
No.
Yeah, so like that could be an argument for that. Of course, that is forgetting the fact that their songs tend to be pretty well liked, but in any case.
But then again, Romania has quite a lot of diaspora, but still finished last this year.
That had its own issues this year. Romania had its own thing going on. Let's go to another comment here, maybe about sort of televote and running order here from Peter again. He brings up some good questions here. I will go into more people in the comments in a sec. Do you think the EBU can do anything to address the poor televote results from countries performing early in the final? Should they open voting for each country straight after they perform? I believe they used to do this, or they did this for a couple years back in like 2010, where they opened the lines from the beginning. But it is a fair point. I'm pretty sure, looking at the stats, all the like first 5 countries did not perform that well with the televote, or maybe there was like one exception, I'm pretty sure.
Poland, which that is what it is.
I'm just going to say we were talking about diaspora voting earlier. Right, on to the... but the other 4, for example, Austria flopped a lot compared to what was expected from them. Portugal didn't do great with the televote. Serbia did not do great with the televote. And who was the third song? Switzerland was the... they did okay, but like not amazingly.
Something they could possibly do is... But it's kind of a stretch, but like increase the length of the recap times for the songs earlier on in the show.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's... I'm not sure if that's the issue. I think the issue is that people just aren't tuning in by that point. So they haven't seen the songs in full, and therefore they're less likely to vote for them unless they've already seen it before. So my issue is that there are too many performances in the grand final. That's not going to change because obviously viewership will go down if they start reducing the number of countries. But that to me is really what the biggest issue is, that there are too many countries, and therefore the running order has the recency bias in the running order seems to have that much more of an effect. So yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know what there is to do about it. I think really the only thing that you can do is promote the crap out of your song so that people know what it is, and hopefully they'll tune in early, or they'll just like know that ahead of time and vote for it anyway.
I mean, the only thing that I can think of is to make it more fair. Doesn't have to do with the voting, but more so to the running order, is to have like not a to have like a random running order again, to have countries pick their number like it used to be in like 2012, 2011, I think. That's the only option that I can see.
I get that, but Nero.
Yeah, I'm against it as well, but like that's the only option that I can see to make it more fair.
It is more fair, but I would also argue that I think the EBU, one thing they do is they put the songs in the running order based on more the song style rather than they'll factor in the semi-final rankings as well, but it's more about the song style as well, which I think does help. Like for example, the UK opened with like one of the most old-fashioned ballads in 2012 of Engelbert Humperdinck, and I'm not saying that song that song would not have done well, like if it was like closing or anything. But I don't think it was helped by opening either. And also, I'm pretty sure if we're looking at the televote facts, and this is something that will maybe come into a factor, since 2016 when the votes split, only once has the opener finished in the top 10 of the televote, and that was in 2018 with Melovin. Other times, like Czechia outside the top 20, Austria outside the top 20. Who are some other ones? Belgium, I think, did much better with the jury than the televote back in 2016. Israel flopped, and Malta, of course, flopped with the televote.
Do you think it's really interesting, though, is that I'm not sure why they put the second place of the second semi-final in the first spot of the running order. That seems a bit odd to me to put like the runner-up of the semi-final to open the show.
I think with the first Austria, that was who came.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah,
I think the problem with that first half is there were so many potential like songs that were potentially going to do well that you were limited with what you could put first. Like even though France and Spain did not do well as we thought, the hype beforehand was fairly big. Yeah. So you wouldn't necessarily put one of those as the opener, and I just don't think there was many other options outside Austria. Sadly, like you couldn't put Sweden or Finland there, and just rest was like ballads or elsewhere.
But there is an argument to be made there because the fact that the producers are choosing the spot for everyone, like people seem to forget this when they're talking about the controversy of this year. But Finland was given the most optimal spot in the first half, and to pretend like that wasn't a factor in the like huge televote that he got would be like a bit selective. So if it were, because like I agree that the running order, doing it randomly, it leaves the door open for it to be a bit chaotic. But in terms of fairness, it is like what kind of message does that send to the songs that are being put in those first spots? It's like I'm trying not to use the exact words that I did in this video, but it's almost as if the messaging is like, we know you're not going to win, so why do you even need points? You know, so
I can see that.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I take what you're saying, Harry, because a lot of the favorites ended up in the first half, and you know, had some of those been in the second half, maybe it would have changed the results in some ways. But like, if you don't want these drastic split results, then why are you setting it up for it to happen? You know,
I genuinely would not be opposed to the EBU trying to do the random running order again next year, honestly, especially just for the final. They can do like produce running orders for the semis, because I don't think running order influences the semis as much as it does in the final. But I would be open for them to try it in the final again to see how it works out.
I think there's no perfect solution. I kind of agree, but yeah, it's just one of those things that you have to accept as part of the show. But then also, if you're going to do it one way, then accept the issues. Like this year, like if you're going to give a song with a lot of televote appeal a really good spot, and then the juries vote a different way, and then don't be surprised that the public's upset when they're like, hey, it had this many points, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think because then the problem is you open up if a song that performs, if the song that's like the odds on, let's say it was random running order this year and LOREEN got slot 2, and she didn't end up winning, then Sweden complain, hang on, what is this random running order that's not helped us? Where's this like producer running order that's meant to help everyone? Like you're gonna get complaints regardless.
Yeah, that's true.
I think the argument from their point of view that you don't really hear because it sounds really it doesn't sound fair is that by doing the producer selected running order, the producers are sort of giving the people the winner that they expect. You know what I mean? In the sense that because like Sweden was also given a favorable spot in the running order, just not as good as it was for Finland. So by doing that, they're not spoiling a favorite's chance, or at least like potentially not, because sometimes when you get too many favorites in the first half, then like someone has to go early, right? So that's what I think that they would say behind closed doors. But yeah, it's not fair. It really isn't.
No, let's go to some more comments on this. I'm going to go to a fun fact here, Vikram Melon, because they've been putting these fun facts in, been so patient all the stream. So I thought we'll put one up. Imagine that Montenegro started their non-qualification streak in Swedish soil in 2016 and ending their non-qualification streak in Swedish soil in 2024. That'd be quite cool. That would be quite cool. You got Legacy Sunshine saying, "Imagine if Poland was first." That one could have worked as a potential opener. Partly because I like Peter's. I like Peter saying opening a more than 4-hour show with Bebe would have been so much fun. Nah, would have been very good.
I don't think there would have been any TV producer who would have looked at that performance and would have been like, "This is the one that's gonna leave a good impression."
Hey,
this is the one.
Hey, it got 8th in the televote, so it must have been great.
I know it did. Like they would have been wrong about that, but like. Again, like industry interests are totally an aspect in how Eurovision is made, and I know that people pretend like it's not, and that Eurovision hasn't gotten to the point that it is now without that. But yeah, I would be very surprised if somebody looked at that performance and said, "This is the one that we need to start with."
No, instead they decided to go for a song about Edgar Allan Poe. That's that's how running order works.
Yeah.
We got Mark here saying Finland and Sweden got favoritism with their running order slots for sure. I will say this happens every year with songs that do well in the semi-final. Let's not just single out. Well, actually, I say that Austria and Australia in semi-final too didn't exactly get favourable.
Well, to be fair, I'm not necessarily sure if it's favoritism. It's more of a using the semi-final results to make the grand final results, I think.
Well, I think that's a rumor. I don't think that the production is actually clued in onto how the results went, because like it's a separate agency that takes care of the results. I think what they do is they just pass on who the qualifiers are. And like I don't know this 100% myself, but it's one of those things where I've seen it being discussed where somebody would be like, "Oh, well, this song got this spot in the running order, which must have meant that they did well." But other people have come back and said, "Well, no, the production don't actually know the exact voting breakdown or like the exact point." So I think that's one of those things that ends up being a bit of a myth.
Yeah, I think it may be. I think it's more about the song style rather than the. Although
Yeah.
what I would argue is if I would argue that they wouldn't put the winner of a semi-final in slot 2. Like it does factor a little bit, but maybe not as much as people would say. Let's go to some more comments. We genuinely, because I am trying my best to get to as many of these as possible. Where they are flooding in, so I do appreciate your patience. If I haven't said your comments, Ray Bailey saying I would have put Sweden first. Good for you, Ray. Good for you, Ray Bailey. Oh, this is a fun question here from Sarah O'Halloran. Which Eurovision would you, I'd imagine artist? Which Eurovision artist would you go camping with?
None. I wouldn't go camping.
Okay. Go on holiday then. Go on holiday.
I mean, genuinely, I would probably choose LOREEN because she openly talks about her Berber Moroccan heritage and that her family comes from the mountains, and I feel like she would have a very interesting connection with nature and a lot of things to say. And also, it would be like one-on-one time, and I could pick her brain about all kinds of artistic things. But in terms of like someone who I don't know, someone who's like less obvious and less of an icon, maybe like the guys from Voyager. I feel like they'd be a lot of fun.
They'd be great fun.
Bring an entire cooler of Australian beer and stuff, and we'd have a good time.
Twan, have you got your answer?
No, you go first.
Okay, the name that springs to my mind immediately is Sam Ryder, because I think it would just be such a joyous occasion. Also, just Essex, you know, the icon himself, the leader of the UK, the saviour of Eurovision, all the nicknames that we give him. Yeah, it'd be great to sort of spend time, and it'd just be a joyous occasion, because I genuinely don't think you can make Sam mad. I don't think that's just not possible.
Or you can make it a challenge. When you go
I am
camping.
a positive person, Twan. I would not do that.
How to ruin your camping experience.
To be fair, I'm a bit like Twan. I wouldn't go camping. I'm not an outdoor person. I'd go on holiday. I'd go holiday somewhere. Twan, have you got your name?
I see someone in the comments say Surrey from the UK 2018, and she seems like the loveliest person there is. So I could probably choose her. She seems super fun. But someone I'd also love to go camping with is, as Stuart said, LOREEN, because she seems like such a lovely personality. So yeah, probably those.
Yeah. Also, because I'm not a known, I don't know the artist well enough. Anyone that's a football fan, because that will help out with me as well. Let's have my artist here. Peter saying in all caps with Bojan. Very confident with that answer. I'd love to know some of the reasoning behind these choices. I will say, people in the comments saying Bojan and Carrier. They seem like such good friends. Carrier would also be great fun, I'd imagine. Ry Bailey going with this Jess person who appeared at Eurovision. Who's this Jess person that was a Eurovision artist? Lee Fern
Jess
agreeing
for
with
San
this
Marino
Jess.
2024. Oh, guys, speaking of Jess, I know this is kind of like unrelated, but we had a song contest among our team today, and Jess won. She won with a
Yes.
Arina Sawayama song. So
Yes,
much love
she
to
got
Jess.
into Eurovision in some way. I came fourth, so I did okay.
I think I came like second to last. Like
Second to
usual.
last, but I gave you 12 points, so that's what matters.
Thank you for that.
No worries. Another good shout out from Ry Bailey. May Muller, she's hilarious. I think she'd
lovely,
be great fun also to go on holiday. Brooke from last year would also be, I think, quite fun. Sarah with a few names here: Lazara, Rosalind, Stefania, Zaina, Suri, Blanche, so they can come put me in a tent. Yeah, sure. Riyadh saying Conchita has a relatively this isn't to do with this thing. Anyway, has a new song called Dirty Maria. The video is so cool. Haven't heard it, so I'm gonna have to I'll have to get on that after. Jessica from 2018, San Marino. That's definitely who they mean. Yeah.
Is it definitely who they mean?
Yeah. They want the robot and all. It's
Right.
What was it? What was the song? It was Jessica's the singer in that, like with the ginger hair,
the one
right?
from Malta.
Yeah.
No, yeah, because I was thinking, is it the other one that goes, "It's me, Jenny B. What you get was what you see."
Well, that's Jenny B.
Yeah, that's Jenny B. San Marino put out some of the good stuff when they do national finals, I must say. Lee Fern saying the singer from Beauty Never Lies. Good shout again. The question here from Linnea. Do you guys sing karaoke in this guy? No, no, because no.
Otherwise,
the results would be a lot different.
Hurting.
Jess would probably win that as well, though. To be fair, or Sarah. If
Jess does sing.
Yeah, she's in the choir.
Yeah. We do have quite a few singers on our team. We also have a songwriter because Sanya had a song this year in
yes.
Dora. We've got talent. If you've got talent, then come join us.
We got Sarah.
Create our own country and participate in some way.
Contact Suzanne Georgie with Andorra. Maybe she'll
and Eurovoxx.
Yeah, perfect. To be fair, we have a few singers. We got Shanasi, I believe, sings a bit as well.
Yeah.
Sarah. I'm not going to claim to be that good, amazing, but I can sing a little bit.
I sing in the shower.
Samuele sings.
Samuele sings. Yeah, we've got quite a bit of talent. And we all sing at Euro Club. That's the key thing. That's when you need to sing as well. We don't sing well, but we sing nonetheless. Mark saying we all know why we go camping with Bojo or Joker. We're not going to jump to conclusions.
No idea.
Here, Mark. No idea. Although one thing I remember from Bojan from this year. Do you remember the questions that all the main guy asked all the artists before their first rehearsals that would come up on the live feed? I remember the one for Joker Out was what's the most British thing you've done, and Bojan's answer was a girl from Brighton.
No, that was Nas.
Oh, Nas, one of them.
It was one of them. It was one of them.
I think it was Bojan. I was like, "Yep, that's such a."
Well, if Karya is on this hypothetical camping trip, I think we're going to be sharing a tent anyway. So.
And bring the guys from Let Free as well. I'm pretty sure there was some sort of promise between them.
Well,
it's getting
spicy in here.
And on that note, I think we should leave it there, guys, because we've almost been going an hour. And it's been a great time to chat. Lots of people in the live for this. I mean, we're in July and we're already getting Still getting these audiences. Very happy to see. Keep with us because at the end of the day, Malmo's the host city's been announced, so it's only just the start of Eurovision coverage. There's going to be a lot more stuff for the next 10 months until the next Eurovision on the 11th of May is when the final is. We've got all. Make sure to follow us on social media, all whatever we're on, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. We on Threads now? Maybe, I don't know.
I have no idea.
Facebook.
I'm not on Threads. I
We're not-
cannot get Threads. I'm in the EU. They don't.
Oh,
Have it.
okay.
They don't have it in the EU?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
It's something to do with Ireland security or something. I'm not sure. I tried to download it, but it doesn't have it.
Who knows? Yeah, I'm not on Threads either, but maybe Eurovoxx is. You can find out. We might not be. Don't quote me on that. But we're also got the website with many articles. We've got the podcast. Follow us on Spotify with an amazing host. Of course, I'm going to do a shameless plug every time I'm hosting with that. And follow us on all that. And of course, subscribe to this channel and let us. Let's reach 21k. I believe we recently passed 20. Let's go to 21. Why not? 1k at a time. Stu, Twan, thank you so much for being amazing guests. And thank you all in the comments for some great comments and questions. We will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.